Okay, my story starts, it's the height of the Cold War, and I'm in honors 9th grade biology, and we're taking a field trip to Limerick Nuclear Power Plant. Yeah, it's crazy how it's crazy. So we're going to Limerick. I'm very excited because I'm a science dork, and yeah, and when we get there, there's all these other schools there. It's very exciting for me. And then we go on the tour. Seems harmless, and then we get to this one section of the tour at the lab, which is like the best part of the tour for me, and they show us uranium-235 ore. And I was like, wow. And then we leave, and that was the excitement to that point, until Winston Ho, he's a fellow student, says, I bet you $20 that you can't steal that uranium. Yeah, so I usually don't back down from a challenge, so I slip away. I end up in the lab, the doors are unlocked, the thing's unlocked, and I take the uranium. Yeah, and here I am, I'm like 13, and where does a 13-year-old boy put uranium? Yeah, I stick it right by my nuts. It's a great place for uranium when you're 13, but when you're older, it's a dumb place. So I have the uranium, and I meet back with the group, and I didn't really think this through, because you know what happens when uranium's missing from a nuclear power plant? Yeah, there's alarms and shit gets shut down. And that's what happened. And now they're lining up people, the tours have ended, and they're searching people with Geiger counters, and I'm like, I am fucked. So I take the uranium from my nuts, and I like get rid of it near a guy with a Geiger counter. And he finds it before they get to me, and I think I'm in the clear. So I think I'm cool, we're having lunch, until my honors biology teacher comes by me and she says, David, did you wash your hands before you ate that sandwich? And I'm like, oh shit, they know. Yeah, so now it's a nightmare. Nothing happened at school that day, and I went home and I had to live with this. The truth of me stealing uranium from a nuclear power plant, and I had to go back to school in the morning, which I was loathing, because in the morning when you were in trouble in homeroom, the first thing that happened was the phone rang. And that's what happened that morning, the phone rang. My teacher picked it up and said, Mr. Mariello, they want you in the office. So I was like, this is it. So now it's like walking to the gallows. I'm walking down the hall to the principal's office, and I'm thinking, what could they do to a 13-year-old who stole uranium from a nuclear power plant? I mean, what did they do? They could expel me, or I could go to a third-world prison. This is the height of the Cold War. So I get to the principal's office, and sure enough, they say, they're in there. I didn't know what that meant, and the door opened. It was like a movie. There was a chair in the middle and a bright light, and people I had never seen before in law enforcement, they were all there. And this guy I've never seen before says, Mr. Mariello, please take a seat. And it was just like this, with this light in my eyes. And I was scared to death. I was petrified, and then some weird dude came right over to me, looks me right in the eye, and he says, who told you to take the uranium, Dave? That's what he said. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was 13, but I was smart. I said, what? Winston Ho made me do it. And then some other guy's like, who's Winston Ho? And my honors biology teacher starts laughing. And they're like, this is not a laughing matter. This is, really? And I was like, wait a minute. I stopped them all. I said, I would need like 4,000 pounds of uranium ore and to refine it in my parents' basement to make 1 gram of plutonium. And finally, my honors biology teacher enlightened everyone and said, Winston Ho sits next to David in honors biology. So as it turns out, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission was there, the FBI, local law enforcement, and yeah, is this crazy? This is my trip. And I had to sign a waiver that I would never come within a 15-mile radius of Limerick Nuclear Power Plant. Yeah, and a formal apology. And guess what my punishment was? It was a 14-day out-of-school suspension. That's what they used to do back in those days. My father was pissed. So the moral of the story is, if you want 2 weeks off from 9th grade, steal uranium from a nuclear power plant.